Most people think emergency funds are for people who earn more, good salaries, extra cash, room to breathe. But here's the truth. The people who need an emergency fund the most are usually the ones earning less. Because when income is tight, even a small surprise can turn into a crisis. A medical bill, a repair, a missed paycheck. Suddenly, everything feels out of control. If you've ever thought, "I'll save once I earn more," you're not alone. But waiting for a perfect income is how emergencies keep winning. In this video, I'm going to show you how to build an emergency fund realistically, even if your income feels low right now. No extreme budgeting, no guilt, just a simple, doable approach that works in real life. If money stress has been keeping you on edge, this is where you start taking control back. Why low income makes emergency funds feel impossible. When income is tight, saving feels like a luxury. Every dollar already has a job. Rent, food, transport, bills. By the time the month ends, there's nothing left to save. So people assume emergency funds are only for higher earners. That assumption is wrong. Low income doesn't mean you can't save. It means the approach has to be different. Emergency funds aren't built with big amounts. They're built with consistency and protection. And once you understand that, things start to feel more realistic. What an emergency fund is actually for. Let's clear up a big misunderstanding. An emergency fund is not for vacations. It's not for shopping. It's not even for planned expenses. It's for moments that would otherwise push you into debt. A medical bill, a job delay, a repair you didn't see coming. When people don't have emergency savings, they borrow. And borrowing when income is low creates a cycle that's hard to escape. Even a small emergency fund can break that cycle. This isn't about comfort. It's about protection. Start smaller than you think you should. Here's where most people mess up. They hear emergency fund and think thousands. That number feels impossible, so they don't start at all. That's backwards. Your first goal is not a full emergency fund. Your first goal is breathing room. Even 300, 500 can stop a small problem from becoming a disaster. That amount can cover a bill, a repair, or a short gap in income. So instead of aiming high and quitting, you aim small and win early. Progress builds confidence. Confidence builds consistency. Where the money actually comes from. This is the real question. If income is low, where does savings come from? Not from massive cuts, not from suffering, from awareness. Most people don't realize how much money leaks quietly. Small amounts, inconsistent spending, things that don't add real value. This isn't about cutting joy. It's about cutting waste. When money has a purpose, it stops disappearing. Even saving a small amount consistently matters more than saving a lot once. Why separation is non-negotiable. This step is critical. Your emergency fund cannot live in your main spending account. If it does, it will get spent. Not because you're irresponsible, but because access creates temptation. A separate savings account creates friction. Friction creates protection. No debit card, no daily transfers, just a safe place where the money sits. You don't want this money to be convenient. You want it to be boring and slightly annoying to reach. That's how it survives. Consistency beats amount every time. People focus too much on how much they save. That's the wrong focus. Saving 10 regularly beats saving 100 once and stopping. Consistency turns saving into a habit. Once it's a habit, it stops feeling like effort. And when income is low, habits matter more than amounts. You don't wait to feel comfortable. You build comfort slowly. That's how emergency funds grow quietly, even on limited income. What to do when life interrupts you? Let's be honest, some months, saving won't happen. Expenses will win. Life will hit. That doesn't mean the plan failed. The mistake is quitting after one bad month. You don't punish yourself. You don't feel guilty. You simply resume. Emergency funds aren't built in perfect conditions. They're built in real life. Progress is not linear. Consistency over time is what matters. Why this changes more than just money. Here's something people don't expect. Having an emergency fund changes how you feel. You're less anxious. You're less reactive. You're not constantly one problem away from panic. Even a small buffer creates psychological safety, and that safety leads to better decisions everywhere else. You stop making desperate choices. You stop relying on credit for survival. You start thinking ahead. That shift is powerful. The real goal isn't the number. The real goal isn't hitting a perfect amount. It's breaking the cycle of financial emergencies. Once you do that, everything else becomes easier. Saving feels possible. Planning feels realistic. Money stops feeling like an enemy. And that's where real progress begins. How to grow the emergency fund without feeling the pressure. Once you've started, the next challenge is growth. This is where people usually get impatient. They want the fund to grow faster, but income hasn't changed much. That's normal. The key is not forcing growth, it's allowing it. As your income changes, even slightly, you adjust the contribution. Not dramatically, just enough to keep progress moving. A small raise, a little extra work, a temporary side income. You don't inflate your lifestyle immediately. You strengthen your buffer first. That habit alone changes your financial trajectory over time. Emergency funds grow best when they're treated as a priority, not an afterthought. What counts as a real emergency? This part is critical. If everything becomes an emergency, the fund will never survive. A real emergency is something that threatens your stability. Health issues, income disruption, essential repairs. A real emergency is not a sale. It's not a want. It's not boredom spending. Clear rules protect the fund. When you know exactly what the money is for, it's easier not to touch it. And when you do need it, you use it confidently, without guilt. That clarity makes the fund useful, not stressful. Why low income emergency funds are even more powerful? Here's something people underestimate. When income is low, emergency funds matter more, not less. Without savings, every problem turns into debt, and debt is expensive. Interest eats future income before you even see it. An emergency fund breaks that cycle. It keeps small problems small. It gives you time to think. It prevents panic decisions. Even a modest fund can stop you from sliding backward every time life throws something unexpected your way. This is why starting small still matters. Protection beats perfection. What happens when the fund finally feels enough? At some point, something changes. You stop worrying about every small expense. You stop checking your account constantly. You feel calmer about money decisions. That's when you realize the emergency fund did more than save money. It changed your mindset. You're no longer reacting. You're planning. And once that shift happens, other financial goals become possible. Saving, investing, long-term thinking. The emergency fund is the foundation. Everything else sits on top of it. Why most people never build one? Most people never build an emergency fund because they believe they'll start later. Later when income is higher. Later when life is calmer. Later when things are easier. Later rarely comes. The people who succeed don't wait for perfect conditions. They start with what they have and improve as they go. If you've made it this far, you're already doing something different. You're focusing on protection before growth. Stability before risk. That order matters more than most people realize. The bigger picture most people miss. Emergency funds aren't about fear. They're about freedom. Freedom to handle problems without debt. Freedom to say no when something doesn't feel right. Freedom to make decisions without panic. When income is low, freedom doesn't come from earning more immediately. It comes from reducing vulnerability. That's what an emergency fund really does. If this video helped you see emergency funds as realistic, even on a low income, support it with a like. It helps practical, honest finance content reach people who need it most. Share it with someone who's always stressed about money surprises. And subscribe for more clear, real-world money guidance focused on stability first, growth second.